I ate cheese every single day and I still lost 140 pounds. And then I added in fruit, just a few bites, and it was chaos. There was food noise, hunger, cravings, and obsession. It all came back and my weight loss stalled. I couldn't understand why some rule breaks did nothing and others destroyed everything. Months of testing later, I saw a pattern emerge, which meant the way I looked at carnivore changed forever. In this video, I'm sharing with you rules that I broke and what happened so that you can spot your own triggers. It might be that one harmless food that is holding you back. Hi, if we're just meeting, my name's Claire, Carnivore Claire. On this channel, I share all things diet, weight loss, and chronic illness. So if that is your jam, do hit the subscribe button down below. While you're doing great, you are eating your meat, you're eating your eggs, you're adding fat and salt, and you are good to go. You're in a rhythm, you're doing your thing, you're just not thinking about food anymore because there's no food noise, no nothing. Eating your meal and then living your life, and the weight is falling off of you. Then one day your brain says to you, you can have a little bit of something. It's not going to hurt. You've healed your body now. You're losing weight. You're doing all the things. I was going great for maybe a year or so. And then one day I was like, I really, really miss fruit. I want some fruit. I was at the shop and I thought, I'm going to get some Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is my thing. I love it. But if I have Greek yogurt, I've got to have some blueberries to go with it. I ate it and I enjoyed it. It hit all my dopamine centers. What happened afterwards is the food noise started to come in. There's carbs in Greek yogurt, although a low amount of carbs, and yogurt is technically an animal product. But what happened was the next day, I was hungry all the time. I had the food noise. I could not stop thinking about food. It was the intrusive thoughts. And this is the one thing I love about carnivore, is that I don't get any of that. What I did is I gave into it again the next day, didn't I? I bought some more Greek yogurt and some more blueberries. And then I was doing that for a few days. All the inflammation came in. I started to feel bloated. I started to feel pain in my joints. All of those benefits that I'd gotten with carnivore had gone away. And after 3 or 4 days, I felt like rubbish. So I cut it out and I went back to carnivore. When I started carnivore, I looked into what you can eat, what you can't eat. And cheese was one of those controversial foods. While it is an animal food, it's also a highly addictive, calorific food that is going to put on weight for many people. Initially, I didn't have any cheese. I just had the meat and the fat and the eggs. And then I had to stop the eggs because they were bloating me. So I was just having meat and I needed something else, especially when I started OMAD. In order to sustain me for the next 23 hours, I needed something extra, and that's when I turned to cheese. Still living with my ex-husband at that time. He loved cheese, so we'd buy a little block of it and split it between the two of us. I'd say just save me 30 grams and then he would eat the rest. Once we went our separate ways, anytime I bought cheese, I had to eat it all. And I'm not someone who can leave cheese in the fridge overnight. It's not in me. Don't expect me to ever do it because it's not going to happen. If you come and put cheese in my fridge, then it won't be there 10 minutes later. What happened is I started to eat more and more cheese. I was always very good with calories because I have always maintained on this channel and throughout my own journey that calories do matter, and I was restricting my calories. So if I ate more cheese, then I restricted other foods I was eating. At one point, my cheese addiction got so out of hand, I was having a block of cheese, which was about 800 calories, and then I was having 400 calories of meat so that I would not exceed the calories I needed in order to lose weight. That's how obsessive I got about cheese. I just loved it. It made me feel happy. Also, it kept me going for 23 hours, which was what was really helping with my weight loss. Earlier this year, I was at the theatre. My dad was treating me for my birthday. I was in pain, head to toe, absolute agony, but I just sat through it. But I realised that before I left, I ate a block of cheese, and it was clear to me that's what was causing it. And so I decided to come off of the cheese, and not only did the pain go away, but my weight loss sped up significantly. I would say in the beginning it really helped, but as I got smaller, it really did start to stall me. And we're all different. We all react differently to dairy. And this is just my story and how I reacted to it. So this is about a year ago now. So it's about 9 months into my journey. I was drinking water. I was getting bored with it. I wanted something else. I wanted something warm. The winter months were setting in, and I was like, I really, really want a cup of tea. So I went to the shop. I bought myself some PG Tips. I bought myself some Yorkshire tea. I decided to buy some stevia online that was clean. So I was having that, and I was having lactose-free milk. I couldn't find raw milk anywhere where I was living, and so lactose-free was the next best thing. Many of you are coffee drinkers and you just are very attached to your coffee. And I was the same with tea. I was like, there's no calories in it. It's not going to hurt me. And then over a few days, I started being hungry all of the time. You know the drill. You know the food noise, the intrusive thoughts, the thinking about food. And when you think about food, you want to eat more. And when you want to eat more, you do eat more, let's face it. And so my weight started stalling. Before I was on Carnivore, I had sciatica very, very badly. I could barely walk with it, and even standing, say I was doing the washing up at the sink, I couldn't stand for more than 2 minutes. Well, when I started Carnivore and I eradicated all the carbohydrates, all that sciatic pain disappeared. But when I had the tea, that sciatic pain come back within a day or two. And I was like, no, it's fine. I can handle the discomfort. I can handle it. So I continued my tea. Not only was my sciatic pain getting worse, but my eating was increasing. And I was getting paranoid that I was going to put my weight back on. So I stopped the tea, didn't I? I was just missing it so much that I went back to it again, didn't I? I had it for about 2 or 3 days, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I have got to go back to water. And this, out of all the rules that I broke, this was the hardest one to give up, because I really, really, really enjoyed my cup of tea. Are you thinking about giving your coffee or your tea up? Do let me know down below. If you are experiencing food noise, if you're experiencing hunger and cravings, then this might be the trigger that you need. And it could be the stevia or the sweetener that you are using. I also used this, which is glycine. It's an amino acid supplement that at night I have this in a glass of hot water with my collagen and some taurine, and it really relaxes my mind. But the benefit of this is that it's very, very sweet. So you could potentially have this in your tea instead of having whatever sweetener that you're having. And that might give you the sweetness that you require without the food noise. Do you ever sometimes get in a funk with your carnivore meal where you're eating it and it's just so boring? I've talked about how boring is good on this channel before, and it is. because it doesn't encourage you to eat more. But sometimes we just want to enjoy our food, don't we? I use Celtic sea salt. I can't have any other kind of salt now. I've had Celtic sea salt because it's got this tangy taste. My cholesterol had gone high. I was researching how to bring it down, and I read that like paprika, cayenne pepper, I think in particular, and garlic granules could bring it down. Oh, I was loving it. Do you know what it tasted like? If you're from the UK, you will know Monster Munch spicy tomato crisp. So I got into it, didn't I? And I was having it every day on my meat and I was enjoying it. Exact same problems that happened with tea and happened with fruit. I got the sciatic pain, I got the inflammation, my joints were killing me. I'm like, no, but I'm eating my Monster Munch here. Again, it was probably about 2 weeks in. I was just like, I can't do this. It's inflaming me too much. It's causing too many problems. So once again, I headed back to clean carnivore. Well, clean with cheese. Carnivore. When you try these things and you realize that they're causing you problems, there is a mindset shift that needs to be happening, because we have them because they're enjoyable to us. They're hitting the dopamine centers. Our addiction is triggered and we tell ourselves it's a healthy addiction. We can do this. It might not actually be that you're eating too much. It's just that you're adding in things that you shouldn't be adding in. And when you remove them, you will see. So one of the biggest concerns I hear about starting the carnivore diet from people who haven't yet started is the saturated fat. Won't my cholesterol go high? This could be dangerous, etc. So I think many people who come to carnivore initially come to it and say, I'm going to eat lean meats and do carnivore. Now, this isn't going to work, and we'll get into why. But I did the exact same thing. It just didn't work out very well for me, because what happens is my energy was low. I already have very low energy because I have ME, chronic fatigue syndrome. But when I did this and I ate the lean meats, my energy went even lower. And there's a very good reason for that. Your body has been on a glucose burning fuel system for probably your whole life. It has learnt to prefer glucose as your main fuel system. When you give that up and you remove the glucose, it has no fuel, no immediate fuel in order to work and keep you going. So what happens is it will go to your secondary fuel source, which is fat. And if you are not consuming enough fat, it can't get the energy it needs. It will go to your fat stores, but that is not giving it immediate energy. And so what you will see is your energy comes down really low. A lot say, I don't need to eat high fat because I have a lot of body fat. That's just not true. I've eaten 70% fat, 30% protein and lost 140 pounds. The only way that eating too much fat will add fat to your body is if your overall energy increase and expenditure is mismatched. So you are eating too many calories for your body's needs, basically. That will make you put on weight if you are eating high fat, but it will make you put on weight no matter what you're eating. You can't blame the dietary fat for that. Once you're eating a highly satisfying diet, so a lot of saturated fat, then you're going to be eating a lot less often, which means you're going to lose weight. The other thing is that hormones require fat, especially in women and women of my age group. So I'm 50. If you've got the cravings and you're eating lean, try increasing your fats. You could have butter, you could have ghee, you could have tallow, you could have duck or goose fat. There's lots of ways, cheese as well, that you can get your fat content. Before we go any further, if you're loving this video, do give me a subscribe down below and leave me a comment, because those things really help the channel to grow. I also have a coffee, so if you would like to support me a little bit further in a financial way, that would be really, really beneficial to me. If you looked at me before I started Carnivore, you might think that I wasn't remotely health conscious, and that is just not true. I was very health conscious. I was eating salads a lot. I was eating all the healthy foods you could find, but I would go into binges as well of sweets and what have you, because my insulin was all over the place. And something I did to try and help myself was to take a lot of supplements. Initially it would start with 1 or 2 supplements, and then it would build up, and by the time I started Carnivore I was probably on about 15 different supplements. I was trying everything and anything in order to get my energy back and get my health back. So when I first started Carnivore, I continued to take my supplements because some of them were helping me, and I kept hearing this advice: you don't need supplements on the carnivore diet. This is a natural human diet. All you need is meat and eggs and you are good to go. At first I was like, the supplements are helping me, I'm not giving them up. But then I kept hearing this advice and it just went in, didn't it? And it did a number on me. It did a number on me. And so I gave up all of my supplements, even my vitamin D and K2, because I was like, you don't need anything. I went a couple of months with no supplements whatsoever, and my energy dropped and dropped. I was very depressed and all the rest of it. And I was like, this is silly. This is silly. I'm going to start having some supplements, but I'm just going to be a little bit more careful about the ones I have. So I started off with the vitamin D with K2, and that is something that I just need to take. As we spoke about before, I have the glycine and the taurine and the collagen peptides. I also take magnesium. I take magnesium with threonate because that crosses the blood-brain barrier and that helps with my depression. Unfortunately, Carnivore hasn't fixed my depression. And I think magnesium is one of those supplements that we're all deficient in and we can all benefit from. When you drink electrolytes, as I've been doing throughout this video, magnesium is one of the salts that you will find in electrolytes. So you want sodium, you want magnesium, and you want potassium. I also take biotin and silica because when I started fasting, my hair started falling out at the temple. Well, not really falling out, but it just became a lot thinner, both sides, and I was panicking that I couldn't go bald. At the moment, I'm trying to keep the amount of supplements I have quite low because my money is really tight, and so it has to be on a needs only basis. But I am not against people using supplements. I just think you've got to be really, really careful about which supplements you take because of the extras, the binders they put in them. For me, the supplements that I take are not necessarily nutritional. They are more to do with my chronic illness, my chronic health, and also anti-aging, and giving me a little bit extra at a time in my life where basically I need all the help I can get. Carnivore does provide everything you need, but the issue is not whether you need supplements because of what Carnivore offers, it's whether you need supplements because of how your body processes what you are eating. So one person can eat a carnivore diet and be absolutely fine on it because they absorb all the nutrients very well, but another person might not absorb it very well, especially if they've got chronic illness, and so they might need an extra bit of support. When I first started Carnivore 18 months ago, there was a lot of talk about you need to have grass-fed, grass-finished organic produce in order to be healthy. But I couldn't afford that, and many of you can't either. I broke that rule completely and utterly and was buying the cheapest meat I could get hold of. Initially, I was eating a lot of ground beef. The prices of beef are not what they were when I started this diet, let's just say that. But at that point, I think I could buy a packet of meat for £2.50, and that would be my whole day's calories. And that made the carnivore diet really sustainable for me. I then developed histamine issues, so I couldn't continue with that, but I would buy steaks, and I started liking a ribeye. So I would buy a ribeye steak, which was about £4 at that time. It's now more like £6. You know what? It's not the most amazing food in the world, but it's better than being on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, or the standard westernized diet, where it's high carb and low protein. I couldn't afford organic beef because I had gone to a beef only diet. And so I started thinking about buying my food online. And let me tell you, even though it's not grass-fed, it's not grass-finished, it's not organic, the butcher meat tastes very, very different to the cheap meat you buy in a supermarket. But also, I advocate to eat within your means. There's no point getting yourself into debt so that you can eat high quality meat, because the low quality meat will do the same job, especially weight loss wise. Growing up, I was told that you had to thaw your meat. My parents would get the meat out of the freezer and then put it in the fridge to defrost, and they wouldn't cook it until it was defrosted. So I always thought that this was the rule. I think I was told that you can catch things and you get viruses and what have you. I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but let me know if you grew up with this rule that you have to defrost meat. I think there are some meats that you should defrost. So I suspect that I have MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome. I have a histamine reaction, and that causes a cascade of things to happen in my body. From the moment the meat is slaughtered until it reaches the shop, it is collecting histamine. Then it's sat in the shop until it comes to you, it's collecting histamine. And so you buy it and you put it in your fridge, it collects more histamine. You cook it, you might not eat all of it, you put your leftovers back in the fridge, collects more histamine. And all of this can cause a lot of problems with someone with my condition. And someone suggested one time that I cook my meat from frozen, and I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'll get ill. And they were like, no, you won't. So I went and did some research. And lo and behold, you can cook from frozen. So I started doing that, and that lessened my histamine load. I've been doing it for months and months now with no problems whatsoever. I do find that if you defrost the meat first, that it tastes a little bit better. But I'm happy to have the meat taste as it does. If I'm cooking from frozen, I'll just whack it in the air fryer, leave it to do its thing, and then I'll get it when it is ready. So when I first started Carnivore and I was watching all of the videos, one of the things, the most shocking thing to me, was seeing the influencers eating blocks of butter. I think in America you call them sticks of butter, we call them blocks. I would be sick eating that much butter. But the whole idea just made me feel really ill, and I was like, I'm not doing that. As we spoke about, I went lean initially, so I was definitely not going to do that. But when I started to increase my fats up to 70% fat, I was buying blocks of butter and just slicing a tiny bit off. I was having maybe between 20 to 50 grams a day, and that was it. I couldn't fathom having any more. And actually what happened when I was having that little bit of butter, I started to become really bloated. I just bloat up like a puffer fish. And so I tend to not buy butter anymore. Quick story time. When I was a child, I was really poorly And for some reason, I can't remember why, but I decided to eat a whole block of butter, and then I promptly threw up. Another reason why I don't go near butter, certainly huge amounts of butter, is because I have that muscle memory from throwing up as a child, and I can't fathom eating that much butter at all. This goes right against most of the advice in the carnivore community, does it not? They say, don't they, don't count calories. There's no need to count calories. Calories don't exist. Calories aren't a thing. Calories are for Weight Watchers and what have you. So I started carnivore and I followed that advice for the first month and no weight come off. And then I actually went up. And then I lost 20 pounds and then I put those 20 pounds back on. And I was just yo-yoing. I think as soon as you start to feel satisfaction, that's when you should stop. But for me, I have a fear of being hungry, so I continue eating. They say that you can't overeat on carnivore, and that just is not true. You definitely can overeat. And I did. I started to get frustrated because I'd seen those 20 pounds come down and then go back up. And I was like, I really, really want this to work. So I started OMAD. I was like, I'm going to do it just for 3 days, just to see how I get on. When I went on OMAD, the weight started to drop, and that was because I was eating less. So I had a 1 hour window, and then I wasn't eating for 23 hours. I would eat until full in that 1 hour window, and then that was my lot. And that worked for a little while. I stagnated and I started putting on. So what happened is I started monitoring my calories. I logged my calories for a couple of days just to see how many I was having. And I was having like nearly 2,000 calories a day. No wonder I wasn't losing any weight. So I brought that down initially to 1,600 and saw the weight come off until I'd lost a bit of weight. And I had to reduce it further. I don't obsessively count every single calorie, and I don't recommend that you do that either. What I do recommend is just log in your calories for 2 days. Give yourself an idea of how much you're eating. Get on the scales every day for a week or so. See what's happening and correlate that to the amount of calories that you are eating. And if your scales are going up, bring your calories down. If your scales are stagnating, bring your calories down. If the weight is falling off, stick with it. As long as you're not going hungry. No one wants to go hungry on this diet, and there's no need to. But you've got to find your sweet spot yourself. I get the question a lot. How many calories should I eat? I can't tell you that. There's so much that goes into it. The only real way to know for your body is to do the trial and error that I've just explained to you. But then once you've worked out the amount of calories you need to lose weight, you don't need to count calories because you know eating this, this and this is this many calories. You just eat the same thing every day. And Bobby's your uncle and the weight will fall off of you. So this really goes back to the first point that I shared, where I talked about having a little bit of fruit and it just took me off the wagon. This is what will happen. I will be going good guns with carnivore for quite a while. The weight will be coming down. There's no inflammation, no bloating. I feel amazing. And then suddenly I start convincing myself that I can have a little bit of something. I don't have to be completely clean carnivore. Sometimes I convince myself I can just have a few carbs. I love fruit. I love anything sweet. And sometimes I just want to eat it. And sometimes my brain overpowers me and convinces me that I can do this and be successful. I might say to myself, I'm just going to have 1 bite of a cake, or 1 bite of a sausage roll, or 1 bite of a donut, And that is it. So what will happen with me is I might have a little bite of carb and think, oh, it's only like 5 grams of carb, 10 grams of carb. I'm still in ketosis. And then within 24 hours, food noise is there, the hunger, the cravings, the obsession, and I'm fully off the wagon. I am not perfect. I always try to advocate clean carnivore because I think that is the best way to get the results that you want to get. And also I'm here to encourage you to do the right thing to get those results. You want the same results that I've had. And so I'm telling you what worked for me, but I wasn't perfect. So don't go thinking that I did carnivore, clean carnivore perfectly. This video highlights that I did not do that. Anytime I convince myself I can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, that is when the cravings set in. So if you are someone that does have a little bit of this, you might have spices, you might have fruit, you might have a day off once a week, and you're experiencing cravings or you're experiencing your weight stagnating, then this is the reason why. Try not to fall off the wagon, because the way carnivore works is we become fat adapted. We don't have glucose going into our system, so the body turns to fat as its fuel source. So if we suddenly start eating glucose, the body does not know what it's doing and your weight is going to stagnate. You're going to get lots of inflammation. It's just not worth it. I have to accept that for me, I do need to eat clean. So you might wonder, why was I breaking these rules in the first place? I came to YouTube, I found all the advice that I needed to be on this diet and to be successful on this diet. So why would I break the rules? Well, it's because there was a lot of misinformation in the carnivore community. I was reading or watching stuff that just didn't align with common sense. And so I would try what they were saying and I wasn't getting the results. And so at some point I let my common sense take over and think about what is actually going to work for me as an individual. Eat as much as you want. Heal your body before the weight loss comes off. These were things that just made no sense to me and they kept me stuck at 287 pounds. In the next video, I talk about every carnivore lie that I believed and what happened when I stopped believing. If you're stuck, this might just be the video that you desperately need.